Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Taryn. If you see Spartacus walking around, just try to ignore him. He's kind of just roaming around right now, trying to figure out what I'm doing probably. So, this is pretty exciting, this video. And I guess at this point, I will have already announced to you guys that I'm pregnant. This will be my second biological child, our fourth child altogether. So I have two stepdaughters that are my husband's children, and then we have Ayla, who was born in September of 2018. So she's about 15 months right now, so she'll be just about 2 years old by the time this baby is born. And so this is number 4. Mind you, this is only a 4-week update, so we have not been to the doctor yet. We are going off of home pregnancy tests. I have taken 2. I took 1 and then I waited 2 days and took another one. The line got darker. Everything looks good and I feel as pregnant as ever. So I'm going to go through. I have kind of written down some notes here of, you know, like some of the symptoms I've been feeling, because I wanted to share those with you guys. So let's go through. So from week 1, or week, I guess 0, from implantation till now, these are the symptoms I felt. Hey Spartacus, can you move? Thank you. So these are some of the symptoms I felt, and since I had been pregnant once before, I feel like it was really apparent to me what was going on pretty quickly when these things started happening, and I was kind of like, this doesn't seem right. I think I might be pregnant. I don't know how many times I said I think I might be pregnant to my husband between, like, it would have literally been right around implantation time I started feeling side effects, all the way up until now. Like, I feel so pregnant. But right, like, really, it would have been really, really early I started having side effects, and I don't even feel like it was like that with Ayla. I felt like I had little things that made me think I was pregnant. Like, I took a test with her when I was about 2 weeks pregnant, and it was negative because it was too early. And then come to find out, at about 4 weeks, I took another test, and it was it was positive then. This pregnancy, I took a test, I'm trying to think, way back January 5th. So implantation would have occurred December 31st. So that would have only been 5 days. I would have been less than a week into my pregnancy when I felt like I was pregnant and I took a test. Clearly it was early enough, like too early, but I was having side effects so strong that I thought that there was a tiny little chance that there could have possibly been, I'm just making sure I'm clear. Okay. I thought there might have been a tiny little chance that I could have gotten pregnant before my period, had my period, and continued to keep the pregnancy. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So that's kind of my thoughts when I took that test on January 5th. I wasn't actually expecting to get a positive result 5 days into a pregnancy. I was expecting that if I had gotten pregnant before my period to get a positive result. Well, that positive test, or that test on January 5th, was negative. So I was kind of like, at that point I was like shrugging it off, like, okay, well, it's either too early or I'm not pregnant. And so I just kept on going with my life. I had kind of just like put it aside, but more and more symptoms kept happening, and things that have only happened to me when I was pregnant. So I kept thinking, okay, this is weird, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. Well, at one point I didn't want my husband to be like, because I really wanted to surprise him with this pregnancy, so I wanted him to, I guess, not be on to me that I was fairly certain I was pregnant. I wanted him, so I started trying to say things like, well, no, I don't think I'm pregnant anymore. No, I don't know if I'm pregnant. That might have just been ovulation, that I was feeling like the hormonal aspects of just being ovulating or whatever. So I tried to like talk about things like that to convince him that I might not be pregnant. Well, then on January 11th, so 6 days after my previous test, I took another one. So I didn't even wait a full week. That one came back positive. So if I implanted on December 31st, then I was only 11 days into my cycle, or 11 days past implantation, and I got a positive test. So That's cool. I'm pretty, like, at 11 days, I'm only a few weeks into, this pregnancy, I guess. And then if you go off of the date of my last period, I would be 4 weeks pregnant today, or I guess yesterday. So I'm a day past 4 weeks, doing this video. So today is actually January 15th. So after January 11th, I got a positive test. I waited 2 more days, and then I took another test on January 13th just to confirm that I did have a positive pregnancy test and that my line was a little bit darker. Just, I don't know how accurate it is. I've heard kind of both ways, that some people think it's not accurate to look at the darkness, like how dark the line is, to see whether you have more HCG or not. But my first test was pretty light, the lightest test I've ever taken, probably because I'm pretty early. So I was taking a test really early into my pregnancy, and so to even have gotten a positive was pretty miraculous then. So once it got a little bit darker on the 13th, I felt a lot better, just more like a confirmation. A lot of people take 2 right in the same day just to confirm. I had had enough feelings or symptoms, I guess, that I was like fairly certain that I was pregnant. It was more the fact of, I want to make sure that my HCG is rising and not dropping. You know what I'm saying? So I have not actually suffered a miscarriage, but we have had infertility, and we have been dealing with struggling with infertility for quite a while. So we've been trying to get pregnant for about 11 months before we actually got pregnant with this pregnancy. So you know, everyone always has those little fears inside, and that's kind of what it was, just making sure that my HCG was rising. So I guess on January 11th, when I got that first positive test, I announced to my husband that evening. It's so hard to keep a secret like that, like even just for a couple hours, because I was like bursting to tell him. I was so excited. Woo! But, excuse me. But with my last pregnancy, I literally like called him on the phone and told him, and I was freaking out because at that time, I didn't feel like we weren't necessarily trying. It was more like a surprise with Ayla. We were not mad, not upset about having a baby at all, but we were not expecting it. So I was more shocked, like, how do I respond to this? And he's very like cool, calm, and collected, and he's like making jokes, and I'm sitting there freaking out like, Alex, what do we do about this? And he's like joking around, and I'm like, why are you joking at a time like this? So we're just very different personalities. I'm much more of a worrier. He's kind of like a let's just sit back and let it ride type person. I'm like the research, planning, trying to get everything like in line ahead of time, and he's like, oh, let's just let it ride and see what happens type. More relaxed, more like just go with the flow than I am, for sure. So I announced it to him. If you haven't seen my video where I announced it to my husband, you should watch that. That one probably came 1 or 2 videos before this one. So go check that one out. And so then today is January 15th, like I said. So it's been 2 more days since I took my last test. I'm 4 weeks and 1 day pregnant today, and I feel as pregnant as ever. I feel so pregnant, like bloated. I'm having like so many symptoms still. And I'm going to go through my symptoms that I felt throughout this time. I don't know exactly the dates. I should have recorded the exact dates when I started feeling these symptoms so I could tell you how early in my pregnancy I started feeling them. But I've been so bloated. Bloated is like the #1 symptom I felt. Is like, I'm like to the point of feeling like, I don't know, like so full, like my stomach's like protruding all the time just because I'm so bloated. And I'm like, dude, and it hasn't gone down really. Like, I feel like the bloat started pretty early into the pregnancy. So like maybe that first 5 days in, I was feeling that already. So since then, I've also noticed I've had a strong sense of smell. So I'll like open the fridge and I'll smell something, or I'll walk by, I don't know, the trash can or the sink, and I'll smell like a whiff of like, you know, something old or dirty or bad, and it makes me like gag so bad. And I have like pretty bad sinus, like I have sinus infection right now, but I have pretty bad allergies, and causes my sinuses to usually be stuffed up and not very like on their game. So for me to like smell things like that, it's like new, and I'm like, dude, why did I just smell that? Like, that's weird. And sometimes I'll like be like, Alex, can you not smell that? Does this not smell bad to you? And he's like, no, I don't smell anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. Like, I don't understand how you don't smell this. And then, so this might be a TMI, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's like a common symptom. I've had gas, and it's like a type of gas that I only get when I'm pregnant. It's like where it causes some pains in my belly, and then it comes out and it releases that pain. But it's like almost like a cramping feeling in my stomach until it releases. And usually I'm like, why is my stomach crampy? And then I realize it's just gas. But I don't ever have like gas like that unless I'm pregnant. So when I started having gas like that, I was like, dude, this is a pregnancy sign. So another thing that I get when I'm pregnant is acid reflux. I don't get it often at all when I'm not pregnant. And I've had it about 2 to 3 times in the last week probably, where I've noticed acid reflux. And I do take omeprazole for it. So I take a pill to help with my acid reflux. And I'm still experiencing it. And that's something that would only usually happen. That would only usually happen if I was pregnant. So this one is something I've never heard anybody else talk about. So I don't know if I'm the only one that's ever experienced this. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever experienced this, but has like actually noticed it or correlated it. I know some women like love spicy stuff when they're pregnant. Like they put hot sauce on everything, or they are just like really into eating things that are spicy. So spicy things just taste like 10 times hotter to me when I'm pregnant. So say it's like something I could normally eat, like a chicken wing, like a buffalo wing, or like hot Cheetos or something like that. Normally, like, I'm good eating them. They're a little spicy, but they're not like too much for me. I can handle it. Well, I'll eat it when I'm pregnant and my tongue will be on fire and I'll be like, I'm dying. I can't eat this. It's like too hot for me. Like, and it's weird. It's like things I normally can handle just fine, but things get like 10 times spicier when I'm pregnant. I don't know if that's just my body telling me don't eat spicy food. The baby's not gonna like spicy food, or what. I've had tiny bits of nausea where I'll just like kind of feel like, oh, okay, I might not feel very good. And it usually doesn't last long. It's usually if I've either just eaten or if I haven't eaten. So like right after I've eaten, sometimes I get nausea, or like if I haven't eaten for a while and my body's trying to tell me, hey, maybe you need some nutrients, I'll kind of get a little bit of nausea and I'll be like, okay. And sometimes after I take my vitamins, I take quite a few vitamins when I'm pregnant. I can go through that as well and just let you know like what vitamins I take. But after I take my vitamins, if I take them on an empty stomach, I do get sick. But I've always made sure so far to take them while I'm like after I've eaten something. So I try to eat something in the morning and take them with the food so that I don't have them on an empty stomach. So sometimes after I take them, I still get a little bit of nausea, but it's not near as bad. My next symptom, I've been super tired. You've seen me yawning, right? So like I've been so tired and exhausted, which I'm tired normally because I chase around a 15-month-old all the time. She's into everything. But I'm like on another level of tired where like the other night I literally could have gone to bed at 7:30 if I would have let myself. I was sitting here like passing out and I was like, Taryn, you gotta get up, you got more to do tonight. So it's kind of that kind of exhaustion. Like I would go to sleep and sleep for hours if I was able to, like if I had nothing else to get up for. So just that tired exhaustion has already hit me. So I've had some tiny little cramps, or it's not like anything like where I've been worried about it, but it's just been some tiny little cramping. I kind of talked about it with the gas, but this is like a little bit different cramping. And this happened really kind of more early, and like after implantation time, it would like be quite a ways back when I was feeling just more crampy. I haven't felt really crampy in a couple of weeks at least. And the next thing that I've noticed is I've had like a really large appetite. So I'll usually like eat, you know, like I'll eat a good serving of food or whatever, but I feel like I could just eat and eat and eat and not be full right now. So I'll eat my normal share of food, and my husband's over there eating, and I've like downed all my food because I'm starving, and then I'm like, okay, I want a second helping, and I'll eat like a whole second helping if I like don't watch it. So that's gonna be one of the hard things, to like control how much I'm eating and making sure I'm eating clean and healthy foods. I did gain a decent amount with my last pregnancy, and I had lost all but 7 pounds of that weight. So I've lost about 40 pounds since after Ayla's birth. At the weight I was after her birth till now, I've lost about 40 pounds, but I was still like losing. I was still like trying to lose weight and trying to eat healthier and clean. And if you've seen some of my videos, you've probably seen we've kind of switched to a more vegan diet where we're eating a lot more vegan meals. We have been eating meat, but it's very few and far between. Just like here and there, we'll have something with meat in it, or if we're at a family member's house and they're serving something with meat, we're not denying a meal because of that, if that makes sense. But overall, health-wise, we have chosen to go on a more vegan style diet for our family. So if we can limit the amount of meat intake and get our protein from other ways, then that's what we're doing. So I think I've given you all of my symptoms. The next thing I was going to talk about is the Ovia app, or I think it said Ovia, O-V-I-A, Ovia pregnancy app. So that's the one I used my last pregnancy and this pregnancy to kind of track the size of baby. And at today and yesterday, it's the same from last night and today. It says the baby is the size of a poppy seed, and that this week the baby is developing their brain and the placenta. So that's a pretty cool change, and they said there's a lot of changes going on. The baby will start, so up until now, the baby's been eating from the yolk sac of the egg, but now, since the placenta is being formed, the baby will start getting all its nutrients from that placenta. So now is a very, very crucial time to switch your diet and try to make sure you're only consuming things that are good for the baby. So, starting now is when you need to be very like cautious of what you're intaking. I think it's pretty common to always be cautious of what you're intaking, but in those first couple weeks, the baby's not technically getting all its nutrients from the placenta like it normally would. It's getting those nutrients from the yolk of the egg. So at this point, it's like even more crucial to only be consuming things that the baby can handle. So at this point, I need to really make a positive step forward of not like eating a bunch of junk food, trying to eat solid meals and hearty snacks in between if I'm hungry or if I need more nutrients, and not going like long periods of time without eating. That's my hardest thing, is if I get to doing something or cleaning or I don't know, I often forget to feed myself. I feed my child and I feed my husband, but sometimes I don't always think about feeding myself. So that's something I need to mentally be more cautious of and more aware of, like making sure I'm eating my solid square meals a day, and if I'm going to have a snack or if I'm hungry throughout the day other than those meals, I have something that's good for me and like hearty and nutritious, instead of just grabbing like some chips or some chocolate or something like that. So I'm sure you guys know what I'm saying. I'm probably not going to completely like limit myself. If I really want to have some Oreos, I'll have a couple Oreos and curb that craving, but I'm not going to sit and eat the entire box of Oreos in one sitting, if you know what I'm saying. I would love to, but I'm going to really try to limit myself this pregnancy as to not falling into my cravings and not overdoing it with those fun foods, I guess you would say. So the next thing I guess I'll talk about, I did say I'd mention what supplements I take. So I've been on a prenatal vitamin, and I actually continued to take a prenatal vitamin from when I gave birth to Ayla. I've been taking it since then. So I continue to take a prenatal vitamin just because it's very healthy for you, and there's not anything in a prenatal that could hurt you. And since I've still been breastfeeding, it's not a negative. There's not a negative there. So I take a prenatal vitamin, I take omega-3, I take vitamin D3, and I usually take, so when I started breastfeeding Ayla, they actually asked me if I wanted to give her the vitamin D like liquid, and I asked if there was another option. The other option was that I intake double the amount of vitamin D3 that I normally would intake and then she would get it through my breast milk. So I started taking 2 vitamin D3s at that point, and I've continued that since then, since I'm still breastfeeding. She's not exclusively breastfed at this point. She's 15 months old, so she eats full meals as a family with us. And she also has, she doesn't have any formula anymore, but she does have whole milk on occasion. She drinks juice and water, and then she more or less just breastfeeds for comfort for herself usually. So she'll breastfeed at night and maybe occasionally through the day if she is interested in it, or if she's upset or tired or just needs that extra comfort, she'll want to breastfeed. But for the most part, she's not getting like super good nutrients from it, but I have continued to take the 2 vitamin D3s just to keep the levels of vitamin D3 in my breast milk high for her. I don't think it's as apparent as it was when she was younger, as it is now, but there's not a negative to that. So I'm taking prenatals, omega-3, vitamin D3. I take a Zyrtec, which is an allergy pill. I take, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I take omeprazole. I told you guys that for acid reflux. That one is one I take mainly when I'm pregnant. I have had some acid reflux since my last pregnancy, but not near as bad as like when I'm pregnant. And probiotic. As you guys probably, if you followed my journey, you know I've had a C-section for my last baby, and I do plan to VBAC. So if it's possible, or if I can, I'm going to attempt a VBAC. And if something happens and it doesn't work out, then I'll have another C-section. But at this point, I'm going to attempt to VBAC with this next pregnancy and see how that goes. So, yeah, I think I listed everything for you guys. I take, yeah, and the rest of my medications are all just are prescription medications that I take for different issues and whatnot. But I'm very careful with medications. I take a lot of medications on a daily basis, so when I get pregnant, I'm very cautious of what ones I continue to take and which ones I stop taking, because I don't want to harm the baby. Anything that's not like an absolute necessity, I try to stop. I even don't like to take like ibuprofen if I don't have to. So like I've been having, oh, I didn't put that on my list, headaches. Headaches are another side effect. I've had a couple headaches. It's kind of hard for me to tell whether that's a symptom or not, because I have headaches pretty frequently without being pregnant. So I don't know if I should consider that a full pregnancy symptom or not. But I have had a couple headaches, and so I've been trying to, I guess, limit if I really need the ibuprofen or if I can get by without it. So like if it's a migraine, if it's like a migraine, I'm probably not going to get by with no ibuprofen. But if it's just a light headache, I try to use essential oils or do something natural to help relieve that headache and reduce the tension in my head, instead of using the extra ibuprofen or whatnot. Let me just read to you. So the Ovia app, I will add this in. I'll do a screen recording on the screen for you guys. So on the Ovia app, you can see it tells you how far along you are. That picture's from my last pregnancy, but I'm in my first trimester. You go here and it says, "Look, Ma, no hands. My baby won't develop hands until about 8 weeks." But you can tap to see how eensy weensy their hands will be as they grow. So right now there's no hands showing at all. Also with no feet, because the baby doesn't have hands or feet yet. Then this next one shows a poppy seed. Baby A is now the size of a poppy seed and is sprouting like one too. And it shows that I'm 4 weeks pregnant, and this is kind of what I talked to you guys about. It says that her brain is developing. It says her all the time. It doesn't, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, but I think they just favor saying her in this app. It's kind of weird, but the brain is developing into different layers based on what part of the body cells will become, and your hormones are raging. So you might feel nauseous or get that first inkling that you're pregnant. So I kind of had my inkling like way long ago, but for other people, about 4 weeks might be the time when a lot of people start feeling like they might be pregnant. And this is also about the time people would miss a period. So I tested, my missed period is supposed to be tomorrow. So I'm actually quite ahead of the game with the missed period type, I guess, testing. With Ayla, I took that test in about 2 weeks, and I didn't take another one until I missed my period. But I wasn't like a long ways past missed period. I think I was late like a couple days, so I took one and it was positive. And at that point I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm really pregnant. But my periods are kind of, they're not very consistent anyway, so it's hard to really know exactly when my period should start because I'm not super consistent. So yeah. But yeah, you can read this if you want. You can pause and read it. But there's just a lot of information on like what happens at this week in pregnancy. And this app's pretty cool if you haven't checked it out and you're pregnant. You should check it out. This is an illustration of what your baby like looks like right now in the cells. And each week it updates to like a new photo. A new graphic, I guess, or illustration. So yeah, this is a pretty cool app. It's got a lot of good information on it, and so I'm not sponsored or anything, but I like to use this one to check, and you can track. It's kind of cool, so you can track in here. So say today I want to track how I'm feeling, so I can say, okay, well today I'm feeling bloating for sure, increased thirst. That's another one I didn't mention. I drink a lot of water naturally, but I've been like extra thirsty. Fatigue and exhaustion. I didn't really have any morning sickness or shortness of breath today, but I do have this sinus infection, which is causing a shortness of breath or a cough. I haven't had headaches today, which is nice. I have backaches almost all the time, but it like is worse when I'm pregnant. Bloating, appetite increase. I haven't had any like real aversions. The cravings I've had so far have been Oreos and chicken wings. I have wanted chicken wings so bad like this whole time. And my husband's probably like, what the heck? That's a weird thing to crave. And I want just like real crispy. It's not even a sauce that I'm craving. I'm craving just like a crispy chicken wing. Maybe dipped in like ranch or barbecue sauce or something. But it's not like the sauce that really matters. It's just like the crispy chicken wing is what I really want. And it makes my mouth like water when I talk about it. So I've actually had chicken wings a couple times since then, but like I said, one of the times it was like too hot for me. So I was speaking about chicken wings. My husband makes some awesome chicken wings. They're so good. And they're like my favorite thing ever usually. Well, I tasted one the other day when he made them for me, and they were so hot I couldn't even eat it. And I was so disappointed because I wanted chicken wings so bad. So let's see. Frequent urination might be, I don't know if it's today, not today, but probably in other days I felt like, and it might also because I've had increased thirst, so I've been drinking more. But before I was pregnant, I was drinking about a gallon of water a day. So now that I'm pregnant and I'm drinking more than that, it's like a lot. I haven't had any really crazy dreams. I guess I could say, this is another TMI. But I had a couple days in there where my sex drive was like super strong. And that's another sign that my husband had. He was like, are you pregnant? And I'm like, I don't know. But I was like more than normal, like super apparent. It was right there, and I was like, I need to do this right now kind of feelings. So that might be a TMI. I hope that that doesn't like make anyone feel weird that I said that, but yeah, so that was another symptom I should have written down. See, there's so many symptoms that I've been feeling that I couldn't even remember them all to write them down. So anyway, I think that that's going to be concluding this video. I will show you guys my bump but mostly right now it's just bloat. I wouldn't know if it's like, they do say that you show earlier with your second, And I don't know about the symptoms thing. I have heard, somebody did say that sometimes with multiples in pregnancy, you have symptoms really early. So I guess we'll see at my first doctor's appointment. So far the doctor I have talked to here at our new location said that she doctors with our first appointment and stuff at about 8 weeks. So my doctor back home where I delivered Ayla, back where we used to live, he didn't see me until about 14 weeks. So he doesn't see patients until about 14 weeks to do their first checkup. And I don't even think he did an ultrasound. I think he did a normal checkup, checked the heartbeat, and then we did an ultrasound at about 16 weeks. And at 16 weeks, they didn't tell me the gender. So we had to wait and do one at like 21 weeks for gender. But right now, this doctor that I'm about to see here, hopefully we may change doctors if we don't like her after we meet her the first time. I hate trying out new doctors in a new place. I love when I already know the person and I'm very familiar with them and associated with them before they know me. But that's not the case. So anyway, I'm going to show you my bump before my camera dies, and I will catch back up with you at 8 weeks and we will have seen our baby on an ultrasound. So let me show you guys. So right now, and I'm kind of bigger to start already, but right here is where the line of my belly starts, and I can feel the extra bloat, and it feels like a bump.